Hi everyone and welcome to the Warhammer podcast. We're your hosts, Jack,
Dan,
and today we're looking at, is Warhammer 40k really for you?
Yeah,
It's an interesting one.
It is. I think interest has never been higher. I don't think we've got like the all the buzz around the Henry Cavill Amazon TV show. We've got Space Marine 2, which brought loads and loads of new people in.
Yeah.
So if those have made you kind of 40k curious, we're here to help you make up your mind as to whether it's a good thing for you or a bad thing.
Yeah, it's a tabletop.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Yeah. We don't want you here. Yeah, because I mean, it could just be people like rediscovering the hobby as well.
Yeah.
You know, I only really discovered it really like 2 and a bit year ago now.
Yeah, it's a bit more than that, but it's yes. A lot of people do have little phases where they come in and out. We'll touch on that.
Spoilers.
Yeah, we'll look at. I mean,
what we're covering then.
Traits and skills that you need to play, the costs to get started. Won't go into loads of detail on that because we've done a whole video about that.
Exactly, full breakdown.
Yeah, but the time investment, some of our top tips, and also ask the question: can you just collect the minis instead? Like, do you have to play the game to be in the hobby?
Yeah, because there's loads to talk about. We're not. To expand on that, again, people love the lore side of things.
Yeah.
There's obviously the Horus Heresy books and that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's other editions out there like 30k, which we'll not get into. But yeah, there's loads of things you can really do in the hobby.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yes.
Too big.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. You can't do it all, can you?
No, that is. Well, I definitely know that. Time-wise, I should.
Yeah.
I keep getting told off of how many hobbies I've got.
Yeah.
Fishing, Warhammer, everything else. YouTube's a hobby, pretty much.
It definitely is. Yeah.
So
that's probably more expensive than Warhammer.
Well, the new tariffs coming in.
Yeah.
Maybe,
True.
Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah. So one of the first things, as you mentioned, we want to talk about is the traits and kind of like the skills that you might need to play.
Yeah. Those kind of.
Anything that you were gonna like a big standout for you, or anything like that?
Well, there's a couple. One that's slightly tongue in cheek here is neurodivergence. I've never ever come across a hobby with as many people. It's designed for people with ADHD because, like we just said, there's so much going on. ADHD people, like the meme for ADHD people is very often like you pick up a hobby, you dive into it.
Feet first, all the way in.
Full on, all the way in. And then after a couple of years, like, right, I don't like that anymore. Next hobby.
Yeah. We've talked about that in the past about like buying too much and such. It's a real problem. If I'm perfectly honest, we've all fell for it.
It's like 40k is like crack for people with ADHD because you can go, right, I'm sick of my Necrons, I will play Tyranids. Or I don't want to play the game, I don't like this edition, I'm going to just go and paint minis and read the books. Or I'm going to go and play, like you said, the Horus Heresy game instead.
Especially since we play it, I'm very much of the opinion, and I sell this to myself as much as I can, but I'm like, oh, well, I've got my Necrons, but whenever they're not doing too well, at least I've got some good backup armies to play with, and that in itself is like, oh, that's bad.
Yes.
Having multiple armies in my eyes is good, but like when you really break down, it's like, oh,
when you break down the cost.
Is this too much? Is this too many? So don't. I will get on the tips later, but don't 2 feet dive.
What about your first one? What's your top trait? So
this is an interesting one because like I'd almost argue for and against this point in my eyes, but being this is a numbers game. You're rolling dice constantly. Do you need to have good math skills? Is maybe more of a question that I'm putting to the audience, because how do you deal with the numbers? Because again, there's dice, there's lots going on. If you're an Orcs player and you got all them dice, it can be quite hard to keep track of sometimes.
Yeah, massively. And I think there's a lot of mental arithmetic to do where you're adding and subtracting stuff and things like that. I remember early on, and I was like trying to work out whether my Scorpex, if the charges unit could kill it. So I went through it in my head. I'm like, right, it's this many attacks, and I'm going to be hitting on this, so I'll get this many hits, and then this many wounds. And the guy next to us, like Paul Paulus, went, that was like Rain Man shit. I was like, I wasn't but you do need that mental arithmetic ability to be able to play. So, it's not so bad if you're playing casual games. And you will kind of learn it eventually. But particularly if you're playing competitive games, you need to be quick.
There's just things that you pick up on, exactly. And that's a good point. You do need to be quick because, again, there's all that idea of like, well, you've only got like 2.5 hours,
3 hours,
to play the game. But again, we'll get onto that later because, again, I say the reason why I'm like for and against the four is because, yes, to a degree, you need to know what math is, but there's just loads of tools out there that can do it for you. Dice on your phone.
Oh, yeah.
we'll mention that later, but again, there's loads of tools to help you along the way.
I played our pal Dan like this week, and some of it he was playing Orcs, more DACA detachments. Some of his dice, he was needing to roll like 40, 50, 60 dice, and he just went, I've just got this app and do it that way.
Just do
and I didn't even know you could do it because I'm old and stupid. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Well, instead of like a 5-minute roll, it's like and it's done.
And because the app you can just remove the losses and such, or if you get the rerolls, you can actually click the button to
click them back in.
that line. So it's really handy. It's just the only issue with that one I have personally is that it's a dice game and I love dice. So
yes, me too.
I like rolling the physical stuff, and it allows the players to see it. Whereas if you use the app on your phone, it's kind of like, well, like, oh, am I hiding this from you? Kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, I hit them all. Trust me.
I haven't thought about that. Good for games between friends when you can trust each other. Maybe he's not. Yeah.
Well, do you trust Dan?
Oh yeah. He's a very trustworthy man.
He does our 3D prints. Yeah, Dan's a trustworthy guy. Love Dan. Yeah, good guy. Best guy. Yeah. Thumbs up. Please give me models.
Well, yeah.
But what's the next one for you?
Funnily enough, it's patience, which kind of follows on from what you were just talking about.
Get on with it, Dan.
Yeah. This is not an easy game to play. It takes time to learn the game, and it takes time to get good at the game, and it also takes time to get good at painting.
It does.
So you need to give yourself patience. But the learning curves for all of those elements are steep. Well, they're not easy.
Yeah, because again, you got to think about there's well over 18 armies out there, and each of them have I know
nearly 30 factions or something.
There we go. There's loads of factions out there, and each of them have different attachments.
Yeah.
And within each of those attachments have different stratagems and enhancements and abilities. So, look, let's be real. You're not going to remember them all. For me, it's like you have to remember the baseline. Like orcs, okay, they like melee.
Yeah,
they were going to run in your face for one turn, and you're going to weather the storm on that one. Eldar are a bit tricksy. You got to make sure you can get in the right positions to take them out. And then Death Guard, they're tough. So for me, you're having a good baseline is good, but don't sit there and think you're going to learn each and everything because
no, you can't.
That's not how it works.
I'm certainly guilty of this, and I guess a lot of you are. I would like to think as well, or I'm going to guess you are. But it's that if you've got a bit about you, you can tend to pick things up quite quickly.
Yeah.
And when you can't pick things up quite quickly, you're like, well, now I don't want to do it. And it's
you've told me no.
Yeah, I'm not. Most things in life I can learn reasonably quickly. You do have to tell me twice because I forget the first time. But Warhammer is one of the steepest learning curves I've had to do in my And you just have to be prepared for that. It's not for everybody, but as long as you understand that going in.
I honestly, looking back and playing, I remember playing with Rob and Alex for a long time. I lost so many of my games at the start. And I'm going to actually mention it in more detail in another podcast we're going to do in the future. But honestly, every game that I've done, I must have dragged down the stats of the army. Like I was single-handedly bringing us down a lot. And then suddenly it just clicked. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, I understand what I'm supposed to do now. Let me now build a list around that specific thing. Yeah. So I think that's where the patience kind of comes in. Like, learn the army, and you do it really well with building lists. You always play that list at least 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
Because you want to know what each unit does. Because playing one game, you might just verse you might get a bad matchup.
You might get a bad matchup, but also a lot of that, as I've learned to realise, is it's bad play. Like it takes me a few games to learn how to play the units to get different units synergize in different ways. Yeah. How you play them all together. You need, I think, 3 games under your belt. So you've got to do that. If you just change your list every time, you're not giving yourself that opportunity to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. What about you then?
Kind of, I guess, on the same stroke as that is kind of staying organised. We briefly mentioned there that there's so many rules, but those rules are complex.
Yes.
There's a lot to remember, and each thing does different things, and there's you'll pick up little buzzwords like up and down, but what that really refers. So I mean, we could do a whole episode about buzzwords in 40k.
Yeah, I'd love to do an A to Z of 40k slang. That's a great idea. Don't steal it, anybody. It's ours now.
Copyrighted. Yeah. We'll fine burrows it if anyone knows that reference. But yeah, so look, the rules are complex, and I think just staying organised is the best thing. I played a good friend Barry just the other day, a bit jealous. He has had a printout of his stratagems. And although the app is amazing to see your army and such, I just don't think it shows the stratagems too well. And carrying around the book is a bit of a nightmare. So you just had a one-pager on both sides. And
I'm going to go back to that. I used to, when Index Hammer started, I used to print out the units that I was taking and put them in Polly Pockets
Yeah.
in a little folder. So there's one on this side, one on that side, so we can flip it over in alphabetical order, and the stratagems are there, and the army rules there, and it's an easy little way to look. I've been trying to just use the app, and I find it harder. I forget more rules. Definitely forget more rules.
Because again, that's another thing. Like you'll sit there and read other opponents' rules, and then you'll get in the game, and you'll just forget what your army does.
Yeah.
And I mean, Gene Steelers here, they have the Scout 8.
Yes.
Never move them.
Yeah, always forget.
Always forget. So yeah, just make sure you remember your rules, and stuff like that will easily help.
Yeah, very good.
Another thing, dice holder trays. So Dan's, and I've seen it a few times. Our friend Dan, who's an amazing person, and please 3D print me more stuff. He basically has this cool little dice tray that he printed me off, but basically the dice come out in 5s.
Yeah,
super easy.
He backed the Kickstarter. You've probably seen it online. It's shaped like a shipping container from 40k. It looks beautiful. The guy's just done another one that's shaped like a little house, which is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've not seen that one.
Yeah, that one's coming next. I think he's backed the Kickstarter for that as
well.
Is
he? Fantastic. Yeah. Again, Dan's such a good guy.
Yeah, he is.
Isn't he?
Yeah.
Inside jokes, but yeah, honestly, like the squads of 5, little dice of 5 just keeps the game moving fast and saves you from having to find your dice and where you've rolled them.
Yeah. I keep forgetting to bring mine because he had his. Obviously, I played him at his, and it massively speeds up the game.
Yeah,
having I didn't think it was going to make that much difference. But it really does.
It does. It's a place to hold your dice, and when you roll them, they'll go flying. So make sure you keep them safe. Yeah. And the last thing I was going to say is just keep up with the latest rules. There's nothing worse when you're playing a game and you're having to search to know what the new rules do. So whenever like the cycle comes around, just make sure you read your army rules. I wouldn't even say read anybody else's, unless you're really committed, but really just focus on your own and understand yours so that when you're playing, you can kind of learn on the go.
Yeah.
But again, if you've got time, then read ahead.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that one. What next one for you?
I think disposable income you need as well. I mean, it is an incredibly expensive hobby. We're going to talk a bit more about cost later, but it's just, you need to be aware of this from the outset because it's a joke. A meme within the community.
Yeah.
But this will, if you are some kind of psychopath who can just build and paint a 2,000 point army and be happy with it.
People out there who are staring at.
None of us do that. We go, right, I've got that. Now I want some more units for that army, or now I want a different army.
Yeah. FOMO is a real thing in 40k. I mean, the Emperor's Children box just came out. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God, that's so good.
Yeah.
Combat Magazine, I fell for it. Just recently, Eldar. I don't have an Eldar list. I've got. I know, right? You hear it. Maybe that's why I'm doing it. No. But like, I bought 2 Eldar models for me and my lass just to kind of paint on my birthday.
Yeah.
It was nice, just a nice little relaxing time. And then I was in the shop and I saw the
Wind Riders.
The Wind Riders.
Yeah,
the one.
The little jet bikes. Yeah.
Yeah, you get 6 of them in free magazines, and that came to like 30 quid, but it's 30 quid for free. So I literally stood there in the shop and I was like, well, I'd be silly not to buy them. It's half price.
It is.
And then I just bought, I got myself into that mentality. I bought them and came home and I'm like, well, I've got all these to paint. I'm like, well, that's going in the backlog again.
That's when you know you've got a problem. Is like the way to address that is, oh, that's 30 quid. I could spend that on something else, but because you know that it's 60 quid normally, you can't resist buying at half price.
Yeah,
it's like human nature. Isn't
it's just so good.
But it's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. So last little kind of I guess like trait that I've kind of looking for is look at a keen eye for tools. You know, we briefly mentioned before about the dice one on the phone. It's fantastic for those players who have loads of them all. And again, if you're playing with friends and you want those quick games and you maybe run out of time, just whack out that and just it's so much easier. A score tracker. I know pen and paper is always good. People like it, rely on it, and it's easy. But I much prefer just a score tracker. I think it's Tabletop Battles.
Absolutely love Tabletop Battles. It's a great app.
Make it so easy to keep track of the game, and it keeps me right because sometimes you'll read a card and you're like, oh yeah, cool, and then I score 5 points because I've cleansed. It's like, oh no, you've only cleansed 1, so you only get so many points. But the app stops you from doing it. It's really handy and really kind of
it's when I played on Sam's channel Daily Dice, we'd had a turn where I think he'd scored me at 18 primary, but when I fed it into the app, it was capped at 15.
There you go.
So things like that, it'll stop
easily
you from
done. Easily done. And the last thing is basically any 3D printed stuff, basically. So you got there's loads of things. You can people 3D printed like objective markers, deployment zones, little those little wound marker things that you just show.
Wound markers are really good. I've got some from a Dark Eldar, like Power from Pain tokens.
Yes,
They're beautiful.
yes.
My friend Daryl, thank you Daryl, printed them for me. There's the ones I want, which I haven't got, is for each faction is something army specific, like this unit is now +1 to hit or -1 to hit, or
yeah.
when you're using your strats and abilities, that kind of stuff. There's some generic ones like this unit's fallen back or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's some that just to be able to put that down, or like my overlord has a once per battle round ability to use a strat for -1 CP.
Yes, yeah.
So I need a token there and then say, right,
Yeah.
he's used it now, I won't forget.
Yeah. What's it? I don't know if you just mentioned it, sorry, but what about the Drakari pain tokens?
Yes.
So like, do they come with pain tokens, or do you have to use your own?
No.
So,
Daryl 3D printed me some, and painted them for me as well, actually. Thank you, Daryl. But yeah, so you can just put one down, so right, this unit, because that gives them rerolls to hit. Oath of Moment's a great example.
That's enough. I was literally going to say that, and also guard, when it's like move with all the different orders. I've seen some really good websites basically have like go, and like it's just easy to remember, and it's also a good visual aid for your opponent who doesn't know Imperial Guard, and you're sitting there being like, that tank has go, that one has a +1 to hit. No, they're not going to remember that.
No.
And they all look the same. So having those little icons just kind of help the game flow, and it keeps it simple.
Definitely. I mean, we're relatively experienced and players now. We get quite a lot of games in, a reasonable amount. And I would still enjoy that. So as a beginner, that would make a massive difference.
Huge help for those guys. Yeah, definitely.
Really good shout, that, mate.
Lovely. Well, that's kind of all the traits, skills were kind of... There's probably loads more out there. And obviously, if you can think of ones that you might think would be really useful in the hobby, let one know in the comments. It's always good to see you. Yeah. But moving on though, Dan, cost. We've mentioned it a few times. So get the kind of costs to kind of get started in this.
Yeah. Do you want to kick us off? Because it does. How much can it cost?
A lot.
Yeah.
Again, we've done a full breakdown. Really recommend that you go watch that video. But this can cost hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
We've just done a video quite recently on the Necron Combat Patrol box. That is, if you get it from a local place, it's like 85 points.
Yeah, 85
pound. Dollars wise, like 100 and odd. So it's a lot, and that only gave you like 450 points, and you need 4 of them.
Yeah.
So that in itself is absolutely crazy. And when you basically break it down, again, we've done the whole breakdown, but like for us, it's like that's not it. It's not just about the boxes and the models. It's like, right, the paint, the clippers, the time, and time is money at the end of the day. So all that stuff does take into account in my eyes. I can't recommend enough that you buy it from a third party supplier, like Element Games, Traveling Man,
Goblin Gaming, any of those,
anything that's local to you as well. Check them out, because you will get a discount from Games Workshop. Last time I bought something from Games Workshop was at Warhammer World, when I bought the thing that isn't reduced in store, the obelisk.
Yes.
So I was like, well, it's not reduced in store, and I have a gift card. It makes more sense to use the gift card. Yeah. So again, it was just useful.
Yeah, generally speaking, not that we hate Warhammer, but buy from a local game store, because you'll get typically about 15% off.
Saves you money.
Yeah, 10 to 15%.
Supports them as well. So it's just it's all good. I mean, he keeps it, again, not this Games Workshop, but they keep on making profits. So help out someone.
Insane profits. Yeah.
What about yourself?
I think try before you buy would be another follow to that. So if you look for a local gaming store or a gaming club, they will often run events and loan you armies.
That's a good shout. Yeah.
The Warhammer store itself will do little tutorial run-throughs, but you will then get the hard sell afterwards.
It's like, right, well, you've used that dice, so you're going to buy that now. You've opened that page with 6 pages, that's £100.
But I think, gaming clubs in particular and local gaming stores independent local gaming stores are good places to do that. You can also, if you have a PC, you could try playing Tabletop Simulator, I guess.
That's a good shout. Yeah. I've done it a couple of times just to kind of see how it works, really. I've not used it for full games, but I know some of the top competitive players really use it. And it's like, I think it's a requirement, actually, isn't it, to get games in on tabletop?
Yes.
I found out recently when
it was the Stephen Box controversy. Boxgate.
Yes. I do think that is weird, though. That ruling was that you've not played enough online. It's like, come on.
There was so if you missed this, Stephen Box from Vanguard Tactics, great competitive player, and he'd been him and another one of the Vanguard lads were hoping to get into the England national team for Warhammer.
Yep. And
they were turned down, and one of the primary reasons was that they hadn't played Tabletop Simulator enough.
That is crazy.
But some the comments underneath that post were really interesting, because a lot of the other guys from competitive teams were saying it's a requirement because we have to get the reps in. We have to see how you play, how we play. how we play together. So you can't physically get enough games in face to face when you're all in different parts of a country.
It's a fair point, but it's still, to me, it's still like an odd one.
Oh
like,
yeah, but it's one of the. I mean, you're basically semi-pro at those levels. I mean, that's how he makes his living, isn't it? So you could argue he's a professional Warhammer player.
Yeah.
But a lot of these team guys, the amount of hours that you have to put in is basically like semi-pro. You're putting in almost the same as you do for work. It consumes your entire spare time.
It's true. We're all going to get on a time management in a second, but just on the point of tabletop tactics, tabletop tactics, the
Vanguard,
Vanguard Tactics and Tabletop Simulator. If you think about it, I guess resetting a game is probably a lot faster online than it is in person. Yeah. And measuring up and such and moving the models is probably is a lot easier on tabletop. So you would get a lot more reps in, but I still prefer the physical.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's where my bread and butter side of things.
Yeah. The only reason I'd ever go into Tabletop Simulator would be to try a new faction before you buy, basically.
That is a good show as well, yeah. That, obviously, I know there's 3D prints out there as well you can get.
We've
done that semi with our Tyranid list and such.
Yes. Definitely not paying full price Tyranids. Too many of them.
There is too many of them, yeah. Obviously, speaking about the time management side of things, part of is really 40K really for you to have time to play.
Yeah.
I know that sounds daft, but again, maybe you don't have to get into the tabletop. Maybe you just collect the minis sort of things. But if you think about it, a casual game at a 2K level is about 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
Now I say 4 to 5 because at a tournament it's about 2.5, 3 hours.
Yes.
But when you're playing with friends, of course you're gonna have that casual,
you have more chatting,
relaxing and such. You might get some food in that. So
I'm definitely getting food.
Always. Carving out 4 or 5 hours on a weekend is almost your day.
Yeah.
It's almost like a full day.
Yeah, it's a full evening midweek,
Yeah. So got to be really careful about that.
That's a good point. That.
Also, building and painting as we already mentioned, but the terrain side of things, you need terrain to play. If you're not going to the Warhammer store, how are you going to get that? You can either get some really good 3D prints, but then you got to paint those. You could get the boxed ones, but they might be a little bit expensive. So you got to really find the right balance on that side of things. And again, the lore side of things. I know we're talking about if the hobby and the gaming is too much. Reading a book, my God! I mean, I am a very slow reader, so this is partly on my part. But even when I was listening to the Thousand Suns, and I think I wrote it down here now. Thousand Suns has 154,500 words.
Wow,
a lot of goddamn words. And on Audible, it takes 16 hours and 29 minutes to get through. So it's all right. So it is crazy.
That's a big investment. Yeah. That's like 2 shifts at work.
Yeah. And it sucks because I don't want to sit here and be like, get out of here, guys. We don't want new people to the hobby. Of course we want new people to the hobby. And that's probably, I'd probably recommend at that point to be maybe do 1K games instead.
Oh, yeah, definitely. When you're starting off, do 1K games. Yeah. I mean, you're still probably going to take 2 or 3 hours by the time you've chatted on and you're learning. Yeah. You're going to have to be referencing rules all the time, all that kind of thing. But it is definitely a better way to learn the mechanics of the game at 1K.
Yeah.
It's a different game at 2K because of just the size of the armies, basically. It plays different, but the rules are the same.
Yeah, that's very true. But I kind of the time investment side of things on my side, apart from terrain and I mean transport as well, getting your models to and from.
Oh yeah.
If you get in the bus, oh my God bless you, it's a nightmare getting the bus sometimes. And it's public transport, especially with miniatures. You don't want to be putting those guys at risk of hitting, kicking, punching, or whatever. On the bus, train, whatever. But gotta be careful.
Very, very true. I mean, for me, it's a full-time hobby. This is like you were saying before. You still manage to squeeze in other hobbies, but you haven't got kids yet. So, but my
these are my babies, Dan.
Yeah. I have This is the only hobby I have time, and I barely have time to do this.
Yeah.
I mean. I was thinking it could almost make a good Instagram reels, somebody saying, I'm thinking, Jack, about getting into Warhammer. Will I have time for my other hobbies? No. Is it affordable? No. Is it easy to pick up? No.
Do you recommend it?
Yeah. Yes. Come on in. Come on in.
It's a great hobby.
Yeah.
Just,
And that's the thing is while all of these things that we've been talking about are effectively barriers to entry that you need to be aware of, the reward versus, the return on investment.
Full-heartedly recommend Warhammer to all my friends, family, everyone. I speak to.
So it's absolute passion, isn't it?
It's just rich. It's just rich of everything. You know what I mean? It's for me, it ticks a lot of boxes as you said at the very start, like of like ADHD and such, ticks a lot of my boxes.
Yeah, me too. I'm hopelessly addicted.
I think we both are.
I mean, you can probably tell. So I think it was important to run through some of those barriers, but hopefully by the end of this, you haven't gone, well, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
It's partly, talk about this a lot, and I know it's slightly cheesy, but it's partly about mindset. It's like, we were thinking back to like what we would have liked to have known getting into it, and I think that it just helps. It helps you approach it in the right way with your eyes open. Is I guess the best way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking about which, what about your top tips? Then?
Yeah. So for me, look, I think again, not I've written down just dive in, but that's probably the wrong word to say. Considering we said don't dive in with 2 front feet.
Well, I know what you mean though. Yeah,
it's just like look, if you like, because I think Warhammer has like a stigma, doesn't it? Like when it's like, ooh, you walk past the shop and nerds in that shop and such. I think just honestly, like so many people just want to try it. And I think there's so many now accessible ways to try it. As you said before about getting into a local club who has the army, so you don't need to commit anything but your time at that stage.
Yeah.
You know, there's smaller games like Space Hull. Kill Team is making a big up and coming swing right now. So you can get a little Kill Team box, which is only a couple of units. And you're practically done. If you get the big box set, it gives you all the terrain that's already built, painted, rules, and then the models themselves. You'll have 2 armies if you buy the big box. So you then, if your friend gets another box, then you can mix and match, play some different games.
Yeah, it's quite a cheap way of. I mean, it's a completely different game mechanics, but it's in the 40k universe, and it's quite a nice way to kind of ease in, I suppose.
Exactly.
And it gives you. It's a lot less overwhelming because, like you were saying, the maximum you're probably going to have is in your kill team is probably about 10 models. Some of them have fewer than that. So it's all of that building, painting, and etc. is all much less time demanding than the full on 40k.
Exactly. So it's just nice and easy.
Good.
We've mentioned already as well, but again, tabletop simulator. Again, there's no money commitment at that point. Just the game itself, which I think is relatively cheap.
Yeah, it is.
But play on there. There's loads of people online that plays. Jump on like other Discords, Reddit and such. You'll find games so easy on there.
Yes.
And on the flip side as well, there's loads to do within the hobby. So again, we've got like the lore, the books, the building, the painting, the playing, the collecting. There's just so much you can do, and I think it's such a wide audience for people to get into.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is like, if you try 40k playing the game and you decide, you know what, I'm not sure if this is right for me at this point in my life. I might come back to it in the future. It doesn't mean you're not in the hobby. If you just want to listen to lore videos and chill out and paint some little men, then why not?
Yeah, exactly. And I can't recommend enough, if you are in the hobby and you're looking to kind of take a break from it, my personal view is just don't sell your models.
Yes.
Like the models themselves are really just, you've painted them, you spent time doing them, so you'll have probably, if you've got like a biggish collection, you'll probably end up coming back to it at one point, and there's nothing worse than starting fresh. I've definitely suffered from that when I've sold all my Space Marines in the past.
Huge, yeah. Seller regrets, massive seller remorse from me as well, yeah.
So that's another big top tip for me.
Yeah, very good one.
But what about you, Dan?
I think the main one that I just want to add on to that great list for you actually is don't chase the meta from the outset.
Yeah, that's a hard one,
Yeah, this 40k has changed in particular. That I would say the last couple of editions has become much more focused on the competitive, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that because we play competitive games and we go to events occasionally, but trying to chase the meta from the outset will just cost you a lot of money. The meta will change before you've built and painted your army. What's good now won't be good necessarily be good in 3 or 6 months' time. We're coming up to the last year of this edition, so anything could happen.
That's scary.
Yeah,
we've mentioned it in the past, but coming to the last edition is going to be scary because it's going to be a big switch, a big change up as always. So I mean, like obviously we'll talk about like, the different areas of the hobby and such, but can you just collect the minis and still be in the hobby?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. Are you happy with that?
I mean, again, it's just like it's such a broad thing, isn't it?
We're not the hobby police, but
no, absolutely not. No, but like for me, because like that's just like, again, I just don't feel like you should rush yourself. I mean, if you're wanting to play the game, then again, I recommend going to like Ardhammer, that's local to us, or again getting like a cheap army online.
Yeah,
if you want
Facebook Marketplace, something like that.
Yeah, if you want to jump straight into like the playing element, but if you're just kind of looking to understand and kind of slow pace it, I think just collecting little models at a time to help build up to a 1k or a combat patrol first is the obvious choice for a lot of people.
I see time and time again online. We've seen it in some of the social media groups that we're in. It hasn't come up on our Discord yet, but that people will say, I'm finally getting into 40k. I've loved the lore for ages, and I've been collecting, and then I started collecting the minis a few years ago, and now I'm going to try and take the next step.
Yeah.
And it's just do it at your own pace like that, you know. You don't have to.
There's no time requirement when it comes to getting yourself into the hobby. It's like, take your time, whack on the order with that 16 and a half hours long, and then just start painting and playing. And
I mean, for me, the game is the actual game is the bit that I love the most, but it varies from person to person, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly. I think when I started collecting it, I was of the opinion and the element of, well, collecting is the best thing because you get to do all this sort of stuff. But once you get to the point of having an army, that's when I did convert to, well, I've got the army, I want to play it now. Like, I've spent time doing it and that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
I think painting is a hobby in itself. There are people, you know, there's an awful lot of Instagrammers out there that don't actually play the game. Yeah. They just paint the minis.
And they look incredible.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the Golden Demon's a big thing as well for them.
Yeah.
So there's like a hobby in that in itself as well.
Sorry. But yeah, so I think if you hate painting, then 40k might not be for you unless you've got loads of money and pay somebody else to do it. Yeah. But fundamentally, I mean, if you're just playing with your mates, your minis can look whatever you like. They can be fully painted, you know, nearly finished, or.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that these are fully done. The insult.
They're not base minus 10 points.
Oh, no. But that's it. So that's the kind of why I got them on the field for. Because again, you can various stages of these are all playable. Like, just because the army isn't painted doesn't mean you can't play with them. Still go have fun. If you play someone who does deduct the 10 points, shame on them.
I mean, if you're playing with your mates, you can obviously you can have a sea of grey for as long as you like. Yeah. If you want to go to play other people, there might be expectations on you to paint them. Exactly. And it is, you know, it just is a part of the hobby.
It's just how it is.
If you're going to be playing outside of your very tight friendship group, you will need painted models.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the game as well. Again, that's the newest thing that's just came out of 40k with the Space Marine 2.
Yes,
that's drew a lot of big fans in, and you know, that I think a lot of people do want to get into the hobby because it's like. One thing I liked from seeing it from our perspective was when I was playing the game, I was like, oh, I've seen that building before. That building is an actual model.
Oh, yeah.
So it's going to be really cool for the Space Marine 2 players where they're playing it and then they go into the hobby store and they're like, I've seen that on, you know, I've seen that on the game. That makes so much sense.
Like that DiCaprio meme, like.
Yeah, I like it. It's good. But yeah, I think that's me on that one.
Good. I think it was an interesting discussion. I mean, I hope you guys found it useful. If you are, if you've been on the fence or you're thinking about it, hopefully that's given you a bit more food for thought and allow you to make an informed decision, I guess.
Yeah. I
mean, the ultimate thing is we absolutely love this. It's not the easiest hobby to get into, but the rewards massively outweigh the investment.
I'm definitely satisfied with all of the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just so good. You know, like I think just don't. I've briefly mentioned it throughout the episode, but just don't buy too much. Go at your own pace.
Go at your own pace.
You know, it's really good. Get some get some games in. If you are thinking you are just a collector, when it comes to like I like just a building and paint them, I can't recommend enough just to give them a try.
Yeah.
Give a couple of games a go. And on the flip side, if you just play the game, you don't paint too much. Just try and get a few more painting sessions in.
Yes.
You might just change your mind.
And very often. 99 times out of 100, if you know somebody that plays 40k or paints or whatever, they will be absolutely over the moon if you ask them, can I come round and, you know, let's have a paint, can you teach me how to paint?
It's so good.
Can we do a small game or something like that? Because everyone loves that.
Everyone finds their own way of doing something, which is like incredible. Like with Necrons and such, I've got like a really good paint scheme and a very good paint scheme for my Tyranids.
You've got a recipe and a formula.
That's
there,
it. Yeah, and it's just like sharing that it is so good.
Yeah.
Another thing I was actually going to ask you as well, for the ones who obviously mentioned about the painting, the playing, and all that sort of jazz. Book recommendation that you would give out?
Oh, a book recommendation. I've just finished Caiaphas Cain anthology and really enjoyed that. I think the best one I'm reading at the moment is the Fabius Bile anthology. It's absolutely incredible. It follows Fabius Bile's on the a former Space Marine. Obviously, it's fallen to chaos. Was on the wrong side of the Horus Heresy, or the right side, depending on how you look at it. It's just. A lot of the Black Library books are good, but they're kind of, and I don't mean this disparagingly, they're kind of pulp fiction. And that's what they're aimed at. Yeah. They're written to a decent standard. The Fabius Bile books are written to a very, very good standard. Like every page I'm like, oh, this writer's so good. Yeah. You know, it's one of those ones where I want to stay up an extra 20 minutes to read another chapter or something. It's that good.
Nice.
So yeah, I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, Fabius Bile. Amazing books. It's got all sorts going on in there as well. It's got a lot of Chaos, Eldar, Harlequins are in there. It's very nice.
Very good.
What about you?
You know what, Kypheus Kane, I've read some of them as well.
Yeah.
Really good books. I've just started the Krieg one, which you got me, so I'm still in the middle of that, which is again really good book. Again, I've mentioned it before, but my favorite so far is still the Infinite and the Divine.
Yeah,
such a good book. The comedy, the story, the characters. I think it all blends together in a well written story.
And I think, obviously we're both Necron enjoyers, and I think reading books about your faction adds that extra little bit of spice in there.
Because you start seeing like familiar names that's on the tabletop, so you can kind of relate a bit easier and like understand like the description of who they are in that. So yeah, that's probably what I recommend. Because it's just such a good book.
Yeah, Kypheus Kane is very funny, but Infinite and Divine is just there's not another book like it in the Black Library.
Not yet. Always room for more.
Yes,
I want more
sequel, please.
Yeah.
Good.
Unreal. But well, fantastic. Well, I think that's it then, right?
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Nope. That's it from me. Yeah. Apart from obviously thanking so much for the patrons and YouTube members out there, of course. Massive help, and it's just supporting us as always.
Yeah. So. If you want to jump on that wagon, we'd love you to. We're currently saving up for some new equipment, including a nice camera, which we're desperate for. Might make me look more attractive. Maybe not.
Maybe worse because it's HD.
Oh no! Yeah.
Sorry, audience.
We need to save up for a worse camera. But yeah.
Obviously, in return, you get obviously the members' videos, name at the end of the videos and such. So yeah, please.
We've got a couple of other secret perks, like bonus perks coming soon as well.
Yeah, we're in the pipeline. But yes, very good, mate. Very good. Well, I think it's been a nice chat.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back soon with another video.
Thank you.